Entrepreneurs Enigma is a podcast for the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, so the wins and the fails that we all face being entrepreneurs, how we learn from adversity. Every week I talk to a different entrepreneur with a story to tell. I'm Seth Goldstein. Come with me on the journey. This is Entrepreneurs Enigma. Let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneurs Enigma podcast. I'm, as always, for the past almost 200 episodes, Seth, your host. Today, I have an awesome person, Kerry-Ann Powell of Trafalgar. I think I said that right. Trafalgar Strategies. And also, she's a world-renowned speaker, global business strategist, podcast guest. Hey, that's actually listed here. So she's actually an official podcast guest, champion for the small and mid-sized businesses. She started her journey over 20 years ago in Washington, D.C. as an attorney, lobbyist, and fundraiser. And one of her biggest things is she raised $120 million to build the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial. That's awesome. That is really cool. That's a good resume builder. It's a very good resume builder. And I was just there on in August, and we saw this. We just went to see the MLK statue. It's really nice. I like it. So anyhow, so she does, when not speaking, because she just speaks all around the world. She runs her business, working with her clients. She also likes to travel, practice her Spanish, because I know she gallivants over to Spain every now and then, and loves a good meal with good people. Hey, Kerry-Ann, how are you?
Seth, my man, so good to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, this is fun, and we finally got to hang out, which is fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how does someone go? I mean, obviously you're a lawyer. You're an
Yeah.
esquire.
hmm
Esquire. Nice. I always love that. So you grew up in and around DC, is that correct?
Yeah, just my early years was not DC, but DC became home very, very early in my career. So in my early 20s, and
Oh,
it just
it's a fun
became home
city.
for me. Oh, fantastic!
It's a
Absolutely fantastic.
and you can actually cross the street without getting hit because they give you like 20 minutes to get across the street. Well, 20. It's like a minute. Not only in most cities where they say like you have 10 seconds to get across the street, they say you have a
Right.
minute to start walking. Then they give you another 10 seconds to get across when it starts turning red. I've
Seth,
never
I've
seen
never
anything like
noticed
that.
that, but you're so true. So
When I was down there in August, I was like, wow, they actually give you time limit on the walking side too. That's amazing. It's
I know.
incredible.
Like you don't have to run and hope you're done. Hope you like save your life.
I know, especially because there are lots of big streets in DC. So
Yeah,
go
there's some
figure.
wide ones.
There's
Yeah,
some
there's some
wide ones.
wide ones.
Constitution Avenue. I rode a scooter down that. That was terrifying. That was terrifying. Oh my god. Yeah.
It's interesting. There are some pretty wide ones, but it's always the wide ones close to like, the White House, the Capitol, that kind of a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. They need wide ones so they can land a plane on it or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah, or like a
Uh,
major motorcade.
Yeah, or something like that. They need some big streets, otherwise it gets jammed. That's jammed
Like,
all the time
how
in
New
DC.
Yorkers always know how to, like, there's an ambulance coming, they're so used to ambulances. Well, in DC, we're so used to the presidential motorcade that we're like, okay,
So and so is out again. Oh boy.
yeah, oh boy.
Wait. All right, they're done. We can keep going now. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you were a lobbyist, an attorney, a fundraiser person. I don't know if there's a term for that. A fundraising
Fundraiser it is.
fundraiser. And so, what was it like raising money to build the Martin MLK statue? That's pretty wild.
Well, it was one of the best, most fulfilling things out of my life and in my career as a whole.
Mhm.
It was just such a very cool thing to do. Obviously, it was a big mountainous task, right?
Oh
And
my
all of,
god.
but
So he's also
on
a
all of
mountainous
the
man. I
occasions,
mean, he's larger than life.
it's larger than life, figuratively and in the statue.
Yeah, he was tall too, so he was a big dude.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. There are definitely some people in the world that have made significant impact, and
Yeah.
generations to come will remember them, and he's definitely one.
Oh, he's definitely one of them, and the memorial is gorgeous. It's
Thank
not
you for
over the
saying that.
top, it's lowish key, which I feel like he'd
hmm
be proud of because it's like
I think so.
I feel like it's
Yeah.
enough. It's not over the top, which I think is a good thing, so and
Yeah,
then
and I
you're
think one of the
yeah.
things too, one of the things that too when we were designing it was this idea of being able to allow people to be able to reflect there,
Yeah.
as opposed to, I mean, yes, obviously, it's the memorial to his life and
Yeah.
his impact, but it's also an opportunity for people to just sort of come and reflect. And I think
It's
the
very
space does
meditative.
it
Yeah,
justice.
it is very
Particularly
meditative
at
over
night.
there. Well, oh, at
Yeah.
night we were there at night. It was like it was very a lot of people there, but calming. It's a very neat memorial.
Yeah, I agree
Unlike the
too.
Lincoln Memorial, which we went to afterwards, which was like jam
hmm
packed and people taking pictures, and there's Abe sitting there all big and proud.
Yeah.
Like that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And too, the lighting. I mean, a lot of people don't know
mhm,
the background. I mean, I didn't know it until I started, being a part of the project. I
mhm.
mean, to determine the lighting scheme for at night, I mean, that took the team a good week and a half of going down there at night, testing different lighting options and
Oh
kind
wow.
of a thing. hmm
Oh, it's
So
definitely a
don't
thing. Like
don't
lighting's a
take for
lot.
granted when you go to a place at nighttime and the lighting is really cool. There's a lot of work that went into that.
Yeah. We're gonna take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show. And God forbid a light bulb goes out, then it's like it's all
Oh,
thrown
I
off.
know, right?
Oh
I
my gosh.
know.
So you did that, and then you left, and you decided to become a speaker, and you started Trafalgar Strategies, which is your strategy company, which is very
Mhm.
cool. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Like, actually, let's start at the beginning. Have you always wanted to work for yourself?
You know what? I think I have. So, I
You
tell people all the
think?
time, no, because it's
Yeah.
one of those things where I always thought that it kind of evolved over time because I really enjoy helping
Mhm.
organizations, make big things happen, sort of bring big ideas to life. And obviously, strategy is an important element to that. To me, it's the most important part of that. But as I've been having conversations with different podcast hosts and sort of asked me that question, I realized very early on I had some positive imprinting as a child
Yeah.
around what entrepreneurship was like. What does it mean to be a business owner? I really saw firsthand the value and the importance and the necessary role that business owners, particularly those that own local companies or that own small and medium-sized companies, that really, when you think about the folks that are on boards of directors of nonprofits in the local communities, these are
Mhm.
folks who are small and medium-sized business owners that are investing money into these programs, into these organizations. When you think about the tax base of a local community, it's small and medium-sized businesses
It
that are
is.
supporting that. You think about the employees and how folks are being able to raise the middle class. They're being hired. I mean, two-thirds of employees work for small and medium-sized companies. So I
Yeah.
think I saw this very early on because of my dad's friends, the people in our community, the pillars of our community. And I knew that I kind of realized that entrepreneurship, business ownership was something that I actually thought was holy and good, as opposed to
Yeah.
sort of a different perspective where it looks like, oh, they're ruining the environment, blah blah blah, right?
Exactly.
And I think that was, and then of course when I was in junior high school, I was the president of the Future Business Leaders of America.
Oh. So
I can
everyone knew
top it all.
everyone knew ahead before you did, right?
Right. So, but I think consciously though, um, probably when I was towards the latter part of the memorial, a lot of folks were inviting me to do retreats and conferences. So I started a business kind of doing that for leaders, right? The
Yeah.
spiritual conferences as well as leadership conferences for
So you
women in
kinda got sucked
leadership
into
and this
it.
kind of thing. And then when I
Yeah.
eventually finished it, I was like, okay, you know what? I want to go for fun. I mean, what do you do after you build a memorial? It was one of
How do you
those
get
moments of
not
like,
just no, no, let's pull back, you're being modest. Not just any memorial, the MLK memorial. I mean, you kind of like it's kinda hard to top that.
it was very hard. To be honest, it was a moment in time, and I think hopefully some of your listeners will understand this. Things don't just always run smoothly in life. I had a moment where I was like, wait, what next?
Yeah.
Because I had headhunters reaching out, I had different opportunities, but I just couldn't land. I couldn't figure out really what it is that I wanted to do next until I realized
Mm,
actually I have a vision of what I want to do next, and that requires me stepping into my own zone of genius and doing it
that's
on my own.
exciting. That's wild.
hmm
So, because you've done a lot. I was gonna say
hmm
because I always say because you've done the corporate grind and all that stuff. I mean,
hmm
you built the MLK Memorial. Like since you've
hmm
built a memorial, you've been a lawyer, you've been an advocate, you've been a fundraiser, you've been a lobbyist in DC. I mean, that's a lot. You've had a
Yeah.
storied career so far. What's the best thing about being an entrepreneur?
Oh wow. I find there are many things, but if I were to be honest about it, it's me being able to decide how much I want to impact the world because I think
Mm,
you have the capacity when you are working for someone, right? Your role is and as it should be the role that you've been hired to do. And
absolutely.
obviously, I do believe that you want to always go a step above what you're hired to do, not because of some sort of, they need to pay me kind of thing, but
Yeah.
because I think that we as humans really do have something within us that wants to be bigger
Mhm.
than ourselves, right? So,
Yeah.
but you do still need to kind of fall within the range of what it is you have been hired to do. You don't want to decide, oh, well, guess what I'm going to do, all
Yeah.
random in
You wanna
some
have a
big
plan of some
organization.
sort, exactly. So on the flip
but
side, oh, go ahead, keep going.
I think as an entrepreneur, I can decide, that's one of the reasons why, I love working with the clients that I work with. I love taking on new clients that have bigger problems. The
Mm,
bigger the problem, the more scared I am. Like, oh, can we really fix this? Or can we really help them? I'm like, yeah, yeah, we can. And we
yeah.
dive a little deeper. It stretches us. And I love the fact that I can also do that and speak, and I can do that and do podcasts. I mean, it stretches you and it gives you the flexibility to
Mhm.
do what it is, how you want to spend your day. We're on this earth for a
Absolutely.
long time, Seth. You might as well do it all.
Exactly, exactly, and so on the flip side, what keeps you up at night being an entrepreneur?
Um, am I doing enough? And am I
Are
doing
you doing enough? Jeez.
am I doing enough, and am I doing what is uniquely what we can do in our
Mm,
business?
yeah.
I definitely think it's very easy to kind of look around and say, okay, this is what everyone else is doing, and obviously this is a good
Mhm.
business plan, and this runs really well, so go that way. But I do like to sort of see, okay, what skills do we have within the business, or what ways we can parlay to serve our clients more? Am I
Mhm.
doing enough?
Yeah, and that's something I feel like, sometimes I say that to myself, I'm like, "Am I doing enough?" And I look at, well, I have this podcast, I got the newsletter, I got the business, I'm like, I
Mhm.
think I'm doing enough. But I'm like, there's always
Yeah,
something else. There's always something else I wanna do, and I
yeah,
get that, yeah, you wanna help out with people and stuff like that, like, I'm
mhm,
coaching for, Founders Institutes, which is fun and
yeah,
exciting, so it's, always doing something.
yeah, yeah.
So what is the most important thing to carry with you all the time?
What is the most important thing to carry with me all the time? A physical thing or a thought?
It can be both. You can do both, we
It
got
could be
time.
both.
You can get as
Yeah,
creative as you want.
I would say I always like to have my phone on me, not for the purpose
Yes.
of, apps and stuff like that, but things come into my head all the time. And if I don't have a place to put those notes on paper,
They're
or,
gone.
they
Yeah.
just go away. So, and what I have found is, I mean, I've been on airplanes since I was born, so I'm very
Mhm.
used to flying. And a lot of people say this, like I'm not the only person, but my brain lights up
Yeah,
when I'm
something
on a
about
plane.
airplanes, yeah.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because we're above and we can have a better perspective of
You're
how
also captive,
we
you
are
can't
in the
do
world.
much.
Yeah, 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 that's true. Well, you can have that in a dentist office too. But anyway,
Yeah.
but but yeah, my brain lights up. I mean, some of the best ideas that I've come across when I'm on a plane, and
Write
so
that
I
sucker
make
down, yeah.
sure I can write it down. And if I feel like my phone is, I also like I'm old school, so I'll always usually have a notebook as well, just in
Yeah.
case my phone's gonna like not charge, because literally that's how much my brain lights up. That's one thing. I think also sort of less physical, more less tangible is I have to constantly have a belief that I am a creator, I am a creation of God, and knowing that my existence is not just um, I'm not just some person walking around on the street. That we
You have
all
purpose, yeah.
I have purpose, and that I have meaning to be on this earth, and that
Mhm.
I'm loved, and that I'm lovable, and because I exist. Um,
Yeah.
because that belief brings me through many of the times when entrepreneurship is not easy,
Uh-uh.
and life is not always easy, and
Mhm.
sometimes we get to dark places, but the belief and the understanding that I'm a child of God, and I'm loved of
Mhm.
God, and I am here on this earth for a reason, for a purpose, it makes me go through the darker times much easier.
I love that. Yeah, it helps. It definitely helps, especially in
Hmm.
today's day and age. Jeez,
Yeah. Hmm.
exactly. So, Kerry-Ann, where do you hang out most online? Are you a LinkedIn person? Are you a blogger?
Yeah.
Like, where's your watering hole online?
I hang out most on LinkedIn, and then I do quite a bit on Instagram. So I think those two
Oh.
places are places if you want to hang out and find me, you can
Yeah, we'll
find me
have the
there.
show notes. Yeah, we'll have them in the show notes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then obviously check out Trafalgar. Am I saying that right? Trafalgar Strategies. It's the British
Yeah.
word. So yeah.
Yeah. TrafalgarStrategies.co. It was one of the first battles between the Brits. It was the Brits and Spain and France during the Napoleonic
Oh,
Wars, and it was really
it's also a
the
square
battle
too.
that, yeah, well, the square was named after the battle.
Oh,
And the
boom,
battle
boom, right.
was what solidified the strategy, the Royal Navy strategy, or Royal Navy's position as a strategic force. So anyway,
Ooh.
nonetheless, it's an interesting story because they were
I
kind of
like that because there's
outnumbered for the most.
strategy involved with it. I like that. You got some
Exactly.
they're in Goldstein Media, which is just like my name with media at the end. I was like, I like the branding where it makes there's a story behind it. Because I mean, you're
Yeah.
American who, gallivants around Spain, but you have a British name to your company, so it's like, wow,
I know, right?
multi-dynamic,
I
and it's
know.
very cool.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I happen to have been, when I was thinking about pivot, I was in the process of pivoting the company, and I happened to have been in Trafalgar Square during that period of time in London. For those of you who haven't been, it's a huge square. Talk about uplighting, right? I mean, they have good uplighting at
Yeah.
night. I mean, whoever did their lighting, praise the Lord, good on them. But yeah, I happened to have been at the square at the time, and it was a part of this sort of a transition moment in the business, and I decided to reinvent the company from only doing large NGO strategy, but doing organizations, businesses, and so forth. And that's
Love it.
where I ended up saying, like, with the name. So yeah,
Awesome.
you can find me at trafalgarstrategies.co.
Or on LinkedIn
And,
or
or
Instagram.
I'm
We'll have
on
those links in the
LinkedIn
show notes,
or on
yeah.
Instagram. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Kerry-Ann, thank you so much for making the time to be on the show. I really appreciate it.
It's been a real joy and a pleasure. Thanks for having
Yeah.
me.
And we'll see everyone next time. That was a great show. If you're enjoying Entrepreneurs Enigma, please review us in the podcast directory of your choice. Every review helps other podcast listeners find our show. If you're looking for other podcasts in the marketing space, look no further than the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcast.net. Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode.